order. It is Thursday, May 22nd, 9 a.m. And roll call, Mark.
Commissioner Goodman,
Yes.
Commissioner Samansky,
Yes.
Commissioner Mychek,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelton,
Yes.
President Foster.
Yes. Amendments to the agenda, I have one. And that is, maybe this isn't even an amendment, maybe it's just an announcement that next month is our annual meeting and we'll be electing officers for 26. 26.
Steve, and if you wanted to go into closed session, I think now's the time to add it on to the agenda
We
too.
do need to go into closed session.
Add that at the end of the, maybe after a public comment.
Yes.
Go to
Yep.
closed Session.
Okay.
Make the motion that we accept the agenda with the changes.
I'd like to make an amendment.
Well, that's where we're at now. Public comment,
Wait a minute.
agenda related items.
We have to.
Oh, we have to
We can make the agenda
Yeah.
amendments and then we can.
All right.
Comment.
So
I'd like to make some comments on the parking. situation.
We still have to approve our agenda.
Okay.
Commissioner Goodman made the motion. Was there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments to agenda related items.
I'd like to, if it's a new amendment, I'd like to talk about the parking situation out here. Do we have to have a,
No public comment. You can talk about what you want right now.
But
That's
sir,
fine.
can you tell us your name and where, do you,
Dave Milky, Entry Terrace,
okay, thank
or
you,
Harbor View.
okay, thank you.
Pointed the right way.
On the parking, it was previously addressed that they should have paved that lot between the two buildings. Is there any hope that that's gonna get done this year? I don't know if it's a question, but I'd like to bring it up.
I don't know, can we address that right now?
We can if you choose to. I mean, I think we would all love to pay that and take care of that. Money is what we need to
Yeah.
kind of work on.
You've been here since everything was done.
Yeah, and
And
that
so-
was,
None of us were here during that, and we're trying to repair what was not done. And the oversight of that, and so we're catching up. We've been catching up for, what is it now, 3 years? And,
2 years.
no, I think it's 3 years since yeah, 3 for us. Anyway, Dave, it is on our hit list.
so
Would you
money,
like to
money is
donate?
an issue.
Money's an issue.
Okay, now, does the city of Manistee still own these buildings?
Yes, by
And
proxy, yes.
They own
By
the
what?
land.
Yeah, the property, the land itself is the city of Manistee.
Yeah.
The properties that you're living in,
Buildings.
yeah, are,
It's
it's
a,
not a lease, but
it's a partnership with an investor partner. It's
Is that
called-
the outfit out of Wisconsin?
yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's
That's
the
it. There,
problem.
we're at the, not to over simplify this, but the Housing Commission joined a partnership with Commonwealth. That partnership joined a partnership with the investor partner Sinair, which created the Century Chair CTHV LLC, which for the next 15 years is the controlling interest in the property. Now, we have an interest because we're in a partnership, So, and the Housing Commission still owns the land, the improvements were transferred to the partnership, but the Housing Commission, the city through the Housing Commission owns the rights to the property still. That never go through.
And our hands are tied for the first 5 years. After that, we can do some things.
So the unpaved parking lot still belongs to the city of Manistee,
Correct, as far as we know it.
Well, it
Yeah.
belongs to the Housing Commission by right.
right?
Proximate city.
Yeah. Well, my suggestion was if it's owned by the city of Manistee, they could throw it in with some street paving projects and put something in there.
Well, and,
Otherwise-
and the other thing that we're looking at is that might not become paved that way. Because we might move the maintenance shed there, and where the maintenance shed is now, tear it down and make that a parking lot,
Tear what down?
the maintenance shed.
And building across the street.
Across the street.
Either way, we are investigating
Well,
better parking.
we need parking,
I know.
cause people are over there and it's a fight for parking.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
And people are going through the mud. In here, over there.
I know.
And,
Yeah, we're well aware of it, and we've talked about it until we've
Yeah.
almost beat it to death, and
and
But our
it's a
partners-
snow plowing issue.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a collection for snow last year. Cause they didn't plow it.
Mhm.
So. The parking situation gets really tight in the winter here. And some of these people don't get out and move their cars,
Yes,
so,
and we know that the neighbors are concerned about the parking.
yeah, well. A lot of the people were parking on the street here. And city doesn't want people parking on the street unless they move their cars every other day. To accommodate the snow plowing, so. And, maybe the other issue I wanna bring up is the carpeting. Bad idea,
Over there.
any place.
are you talking about it in the hallways?
Yeah.
I would agree with
They
that.
should have did this here. I
Unfortunately.
don't know who got paid off on that deal, but, you know,
Yeah,
it's crappy carpeting. And there's no way to maintain it.
Yep.
I came in the door upstairs to find this place. And, walked down the hall. And we don't need Manistee Foundation to put in a dog run, because they're using the hallways for a dog run. You can smell it. Smells horrendous.
It's amazing how much their lack of respect we have. And
Yeah.
we need to gain that respect back.
I don't know if it's the people who own the dogs or the people themselves. But it smells like an open sewer. Come in the door, it's wide open. Something's gotta be done. Either you gotta pull that carpeting up and put this stuff down, where they can mop it. Or take a fire hose and hose it out.
I do wonder how often we have a cleaning company come in.
They don't have, well, they got a shark. Shark isn't gonna take care of that carpet. And
They're now doing
it's a
it
distress,
since we've hired for maintenance guy.
that we are cleaning regularly.
it's a distressed carpet,
yeah.
so.
Unfortunately, again, this was part of decisions made before, and
So-
they spent the $13 million to do that.
How much?
13,
Yeah,
We've got nice artwork on the wall, so. Yeah,
well,
we're as disgusted as you are, believe me.
well, the artwork over there, some of the floors. Is like a furnace filter that somebody spray painted. Now, some of the art over here looks pretty nice. But some of that is just, I don't know what they charge for that artwork. You know, like $6 million for the.
I don't know.
I'm going like,
Okay,
and security is another thing. Lighting in the parking lots, if you're gonna pave it, put some lights in there that work. The 6-foot ones that light the sidewalk. Don't work.
they're not on at night.
They don't work. It's dark down there. All it lights is the sidewalk. You need the 15-footer. You need at least 2 or 3 of those in that center lot. So that's part of the parking lot deal. is to look at the lighting and where's the security cameras? There should be security cameras in that parking lot all night long, running 24 hours a day. This is 2025. See signs on the wall says, smile, you're on camera. I haven't seen a camera yet.
They're here,
Huh?
they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're here.
we have,
They're there?
oh, yeah,
They work in 24 hours a day?
It
yeah,
is.
we
If
have found,
something happens to a car in that lot, the police just laugh at you and say, show me your security cameras.
They know we have security cameras.
So,
now, I don't know whether we have security cameras in the
I'm
lot,
not sure how much
but we do in the building.
but there's one right there, by the way, in the
Yeah,
corner.
there's-
yeah, they should be on in the parking lot and it has to be not dark in the parking lot, so. The one guy got his rear window knocked out of his Subaru. Brand new one. And, I don't know if they ever caught the guy. And I think the quality of people staying here, we could save a lot of money by vetting the people that coming in here. If you're worried about vacancies, we can get people that are illegal aliens to come in here.
We did have a problem prior to, there wasn't really a good vetting process, and some people are living here that probably wouldn't have been able to be in currently the way that we do it. So we're kind of in that position where we have people who you can't just evict them. They are here, they've been here for years. Now we have everything in process where we're really going through it and checking backgrounds, sticking to the rules, which was not happening before.
Well,
So some people got in who should not be here.
we've got mental cases living here, and the one guy, the tie-dye guy, I guess they kicked him out. Totally trashed one of the apartments up there,
Well, that
just
happens
by
everywhere.
word of mouth,
Yeah, that happens everywhere. It's,
yeah.
Jenny
But,
can tell you when she goes into homes, people trash them all the time.
well, yeah, in the garbage chutes. Garbage chutes were open until after this project was done. And I think it might have been the tie-dye guy throwing spoiled milk down the chutes. So now the people gotta go downstairs, outside to the dumpsters or the little wheelie bins. And they were open for years. And that's part of the vetting process there.
Okay, Bob, I'm gonna have to cut you off. We
Okay,
do have at the end of the meeting for public comments. And I
Yeah,
want
I
to
got
hear
it.
about them, but we
Yeah.
need to get on with the
The
meeting.
bottom two.
so I just wanted to get that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It's all of our concerns also.
Yeah, the money that the community foundation for a dog walk to be better spent on the parking. Once you got parking, then you can start letting out apartments.
Yeah, that's not a dog walk. We're fixing our riverbank.
But you're preaching to the choir. We agree with everything you said.
Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda. Approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes of April 17th. Approval of bills and disbursements for April of 2025. And the heat pump project, nope. Financial reports for March of 2025. Do I have motion?
I will make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Old business, now I'm on the right line. Manistee County Community Foundation Grant Award. Everyone here is familiar with what it was
It is.
or what it is, right? The foundation has agreed to pay for the
Feasibility study.
feasibility study on our riverbank.
Yeah.
Both in front of Central Terrace and
Thank you very much for foundation.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's much appreciated.
And then Lori has down Secretary Shoreline Improvement Feasibility Study Proposal from Spicer Group.
Right.
Does we have anything on that, Mark, or just?
I don't think so, and I think it should match, right, the budget, the grant amount that was awarded, right?
And then the heat pump project. I know she's still doing big gyrations, she's now calling them heat pumps, but she's been around for a while now. But it's for the mini
Any
splits,
split, yeah.
we give air conditioning, heating in all our apartments, Century Terrace, Harborview. And there's still, because of the size of the project, there's still hemming and hawing, trying to figure out how they're gonna get it through. But it would be nice to get that. And again, like Mr. Milky said, it should have been done as renovation, but it wasn't. Okay, any other old business? New business, CMHC audit for the fiscal year 12/31/2024. Everyone has a copy of it. I went over it with Mark and Lori here a week or so ago. It's a fantastic audit. We've done well.
Clean audit, no findings.
We can see it. Yeah.
And it's good, but this is a new auditor, so it's a separate set of eyes looking at it, from previous auditors too. I recommend that you approve that and then we could submit it.
To the,
We have to submit it to, well, we'll send it, we'll send copies to the city. We need to submit it to HUD and we need to submit it to the state of Michigan.
It will actually be submitted it before the 1st of June.
I know Ed will be very happy because we're always, in Bradford, because we're always behind the eight ball, because they include, the city includes the financial data in their audit as well.
We accept the financial statements.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Steve, can I say one last thing about the audit? I want to direct you to the first page. And the second line under Manistee Housing Commission.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and for the city
You haven't
council,
put that there.
no, this is, we had a argument. I mean, I think there was an argument previously that the Housing Commission was not a component unit of the city. The Housing Commission is a component
Yeah.
unit of the city. It's created by the city under statutory authority under Public Act 18 that only allows municipalities, townships, cities to create housing commissions. So we are clearly a component unit of the city. I think there was a previous auditor that tried to make the argument that we weren't, and previous staff. So,
I don't think anyone on this board would argue that
No.
point at all.
no,
No.
so I just,
It was really truly previously thought that they were independent. Anyway.
Which they ran that way. The wild, wild west.
Okay, the 2025 capital fund program. Do we get another
We get 100, yeah, if we're
$147.
for fiscal year 25. So I think the proper protocol is that you accept this award and authorize the executive director to execute the grant agreement for the capital fund award agreement.
Motion for that,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
all in favor,
I,
opposed? Motion carried.
So that's only for capital improvements, correct?
Capital improvements, yeah. So we're small. I mean, it can be,
Scattered sites.
yeah, it could be, yeah, it's for the 47 scattered sites only, you know, and we have to now develop a budget and improvements, you know, and there's a whole bunch of different things you can use it for. Now, if we're gonna go down the RAD conversion route, there's a lot of pre-development expenses, so that money can be used for that too. And I think we still have money from previous capital fund grants, obviously that we're spending renovating the units, so.
once we get down that road, you know, I'm continuing to talk, I'll be attending the next land bank meeting. We talk about land trusts gonna bring that to that group. And as we continue to walk down the road, I think we're just building a bigger array of possibilities as we bring others aboard. But, you know, some of the housing, we'll do our rad, but also too, the other housing that will come with that is, something that county's very interested.
Okay, and I don't know why this is under new business, but Aaron, you've been reappointed.
Yes, I have. It'll be 10 years before I get out of here.
I can't believe you did it.
City council.
5 years goes by really fast.
Yeah, it did. It's been a whirlwind.
We have no presentation or discussion. Reports and communications, operations manager, executive director, I see Lori left us.
So you have Lori's report. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I don't know if I even kept a copy of it.
Starting up the lock project.
Yes.
Did you know?
So, and you can see it. I think that's even, yeah, the letter, email letter. So, Commonwealth consented to that project, as you
That's
can see.
been a thought over thing
Yeah.
for the last 2 years.
So Dave's not here anymore, but maybe it's a good point to interject that, you know, we know what needs to be done in these improvements. It's really, we have to find the cash flow to do it. And until the project is self-supporting and paid back its debt, to deferred developer fee, then there's not cash flow to do things. I mean, that's the way it was set up. You didn't have anything to do with it. We didn't negotiate this, but we're still subject to the terms of that.
And we did this, and it should have come out as a capital appropriation through CTHV LLC,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they wouldn't agree to that, so we
Yeah.
funded it 100%.
that's right.
Well, they should replace the doors.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
That was in the scope of work.
there was a lot of things in the scope of work, including the riverfront, that, you know, there's the question who authorized the changes and everything, but that's, you know, we're looking back and
I don't know if you'll ever find.
I don't
It
know
was
that
never
we,
discussed at board meetings that I was at.
no. So. So a couple things I wanted to talk about, and one of those was that, so there was, cash flow of 116,000 in CTHV, so that goes towards, there's a, they call it a cash waterfall in the operating agreement with the investor partner. So number one, Scenario gets their investor fee. Number two, it's the deferred developer fee, which we're entitled to some of that, which we're spending, you know, we're putting it back into the project, donating it back into the project. There was, we found when they did the audit for the partnership that there was a equity payment, which is what the investor, when we sold the tax credits and when they supply the funds, that's called an equity installment. There was one made in 24. I'm not sure we got our portion of the developer fee, so I need to, that's something we're digging into. I was at the conference on Wednesday and there's interest from developers already. I just want you to know. So I had some conversations with developers at the conference, and at least 3 so far. And I think 3 quality developers. So
Just want to interject. I was at our regional county meeting and, the county
Osceola County,
the one that you're working on.
yeah,
Um,
ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they stood up and had a lot of praise about what you've done over there in their housing project or what you're working on.
Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised that we have finally developers who.
Yeah. You know, they want people that have experience. They want to work with experienced folks, and you guys have done a project already. So, I mean, so you have some experience. So,
I'm not putting my name on that.
yeah. So, and I'll just tell you about the Ever project. So we had the largest award in the state.
Yeah.
So for a little rural community of 1,700 people. So it's,
So we expect better here.
yeah, well,
We
but
had a lot of good things to say, Mark.
so, but it's the same process. It's through the preservation, and then we're building 36 new units as part of that too. So,
10 as you're going
Yeah.
through Everett,
Yeah.
because I went through Everett
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yes, day before yesterday
Yeah.
in torrential rain,
Oh.
saw the clearing and
Yeah.
figured
That
that was
was for real estate down there too.
Detroit, Everett, everywhere, you know, wherever I am.
So the other thing I wanted to bring, so I attended the Housing Action Committee meeting. I think Karen was there.
I wasn't.
Mick didn't come. So interesting because the city of Frankfurt and Jay White was there and talked about their community land trust. And I saved some of this stuff if anybody wants to look through it. So that it's a good example of not waiting for somebody to come and do it. So the community leaders said, you know, we need to promote housing because we need to house, you know, the workforce. Because without housing a workforce, we can't have a strong, vibrant economy. So, and really that's what this affordable housing is. I mean, to support the community. So I thought they had some really good ideas. Karen, I don't know if you want to.
You know, and again, it's to be able to really identify that the workforce housing in Manistee is, you know, it comes to that AI, not AI level, 100, 120% of the,
Oh, yeah. AMI.
80 to 120.
yeah. So we have to remember as a community, we kind of like have three legs to our stool. We have our industrial leg. We have our retirement community that we promote. And we have our tourism community that we promote. So in order to have tourism, and this, you know, I've seen this on the DBA, if you know, in those meetings, we bring in different, you know, retailers and everything to, and restaurants. And those are people who are workforce, can't afford $200,000-300,000 homes. That's the workforce housing we're talking about. And they have families. So, you know, even at a 2-person income in our community, if somebody works in the factory for several years, they might have a good base salary. But, you know, if the other one's working in retail or something, they're not bringing in a lot more. So even in our professional levels, like in mental health, like I've said this several times, there are several people who live in different counties and drive here all the way from Lake Ann, just because of housing. We have a DNR person that we put on a board, our planning board, Tuesday. He drives in from Cadillac because he can't find any housing. So, you know, these are the working people that need to have housing, and that's where I think where we come in, and this is where this group came in too, being able to kind of build up this land trust. Now, you need some people to be donators, which we do have in our community if we do this right. But there was also a really interesting piece in which a person can donate property. And then you lease it, is it lease back?
Yeah, so they own the improvements. It's kind of actually like this property.
Yeah.
So they own the improvements, but not the land. So the land trust still retains some rights on how the property, and then the owners are able to sell their equity. But the land trust still is the controller of the land. It's like a site condominium. So today in real estate and you're dividing property, a lot of it's done with site condos instead of going through the platting process today because it's so cumbersome. And so you really, you know, you never really fully outright own everything because it's a site condo and it's kind of the same principle.
And I
Not
think about
exactly.
that with the land bank. That's
Yeah.
why I'm heading
Yeah.
over to the land bank, because as they grow, you know, it's good to kind of put this out there too. And we talked about it a little bit at our commissioner meeting, but, you know, I think it goes right down the road of the principles set by our land bank as well. And I see this as just a win-win-win. But it's the lift.
Yeah.
This is the hard part. It's the lift to get it going, getting all the pieces together.
Yeah, they didn't just talk about it, they did it. You
Yeah.
know, so they built these houses.
And he's wanting to come down here too and
Yeah.
consult with us more.
You know, the one thing I'll say about, you know, the affordable housing stuff, like what's going on in Everett, I did an analysis. So there's 53 family units there. It's similar to what we have. We have 47 and, you know, there was $1.2 million worth of earned income by the folks that live there. And every segment of the economy had employees from the school district, to all the industry. So
Fast food.
yeah, the service provider. So, and then we get calls from people that are working in Cadillac that can't find anywhere to live, so they want to live in Everett. And we don't have enough housing to keep people in our own community, you know. So it just goes to the need, and we all know there's a need, but you know, it's hard to address it. So
Well, I would hope through our venture with developers that we figure out somehow to put the missing middle, the 80 to 120% of AMI, to be able to fund it, to finance it, because right now you can't use tax credits for it because tax credits are only for low income.
it's for 80% and below.
Right.
Yeah.
And so hopefully either the federal government or the state government or someone's gonna come up with some financial packages that we can use to do that missing middle.
Well, there was, you know,
And there's a little,
there's a little, so Mick knows this, and prior to me retiring from Big Rapids, we had one of the first middle missing grants. So we built 5 houses, they sold immediately, the state had extra money, now this is since I've been gone, so they said, will you do 5 more? And so 5 are under construction right now, and I think there's purchase agreements on 3 or 4 out of the 5 that aren't even done yet.
Is
And
that
the
the?
first 5 are already sold,
That,
right?
that's the
Is
subdivision
that
I
the
took you
subdivision?
to.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
wasn't.
First 5 are sold, then we ended up selling lots to private developers. We gave a lot to the intermediate school district for their building trades program, so they're building a house in there. So there were 14 lots that we developed, they're all gone already. So that, I mean, it's kind of, if you build it, they'll come. We know there's a need. The problem is for the private sector developers, there's just not the return on investment for them to come here. I mean, in a 1,200 square foot house, it's $300,000 to build. I mean,
To build.
yeah, I mean, I don't know here, but we did 5 at a time, so we were able to get a little economy of scale. You know, it's $300 a square foot. That's basic construction today. So if you think about that, and we sold them for roughly 200,000. So there was that 100,000 development subsidy in there, and that's where the grant came in.
All the contractors I work with right now, since November, basically, it's $450.
Yeah, I know it. It's crazy.
It's $450 a square, so you're talking $450,000 for 1,000 square foot
Yeah.
home, unless you have some land bank, government backing, something. So anyone gets it in their head that the housing we potentially will build will be under good standard housing. It's not possible.
No, it
It's
isn't
like, it's not possible. I mean, I even have a lot of clients that, you know, Traverse City has a modular home built that everyone's raving about, that's really great, that people are looking into now because stick built is just out of this world right now. And so, you know, that's something that our city needs to look at too, that the word modular is not the same as it used to be.
No, we've done, we did some in Big Rapids. The problem was the cost was, we thought we could do that for less cost than a stick built house, but we couldn't because we couldn't get them for 18 months and they couldn't guarantee prices during the whole COVID and supply.
Because it's the demand.
Yeah, the demand is so high.
Those are really popular, about 20 some years
Yeah.
ago, really popular. You couldn't, like everybody was doing it, but then all of a sudden it just drifted off. But
Well, there's one house right by where you live that was a modular. Yeah,
So anyway,
oh,
well, the good
Yeah,
news
yeah.
is the
Yeah, the
first missing middle home is just about finished.
Yay.
We're waiting for the septic to come in probably next week. I'm putting the doorknobs right after this meeting is open, because we on the doors last night. So that'll be the first, and we have a subsidy, so that 300, it more like 325,000 construction costs with Habitat doing all the finishing work. But we've got a grant as well, so it should be on the market for around 275.
holy
This
cow,
is-
that's amazing.
This is a
It's in a
beautiful
beautiful-
3-bedroom with a walkout,
Yeah.
unfinished basement
Gorgeous.
and an amazing view
And a
of
great location.
lake. Yep.
Yeah,
That's good.
as we, continue to develop a vision for ourselves and, be able to kind of financially dig out of this and get into that, I just like to see us, I appreciate that there's developers that are willing to do apartments. There are some needs, but I also get concerned about too many apartments and not enough family.
yeah.
And so, I'd like our vision to be more about working with families developing, the cooperative that you had for that neighborhood development was like, that just sticks in my brain is we can do that.
Well, we worked with the city, we had a development agreement with the city. They did the infrastructure. They actually sold a bond to do, almost a half a mile of road and utilities. And, in exchange for that, 14 houses, and then we paid a service fee per lot too, when we sold each house. So the requirement on the deed is every time a house is sold, the city gets $5,000 from each lot. I mean, it's a good faith
Yeah.
effort, and you think about 14 new houses in your community, and it's a lot of young people
Yeah.
moving in, to support the schools and industry, and it was just went way quicker than anybody thought it would.
That's what they're thinking
And
about
that
doing
14
out
lots,
there.
that's a gift that keeps on giving every year back into the
Well,
city.
you think down the road, what the legacy is of investing in infrastructure.
Right.
Those houses are here for 100 years. The county's receiving tax revenue, the school's receiving tax revenue, the city's receiving tax revenue. And for too long, I mean, the return is huge.
At another meeting I went to, and I forget his name every time I see him, but the superintendent out in Brethren K&D, they've got enough property that they are looking at built, for their teachers, for people, because they can't retain because there's nowhere to live out there. So they have so much property that, I mean, what a smart move.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just take some of this property and we're gonna
Well, you
build.
should see all the property the Manistee school system
I know,
owns.
I want
I'm like,
the property behind it.
like,
It's too
why do
nice.
we own all
Yeah.
this?
Madison's got a lot.
Lot of property.
The other thing that's happening now too is, tiny homes.
Yeah.
And so zoning restrictions, and that,
Well,
you
there's,
look at a normal 2-bedroom apartment, and you're talking 700 to 750 square foot. If you put a 2-bedroom tiny home up, that's 800 square foot,
960.
960 is what it's gotta be.
yeah, I mean, you have building codes, so that's an issue too.
So,
960 is good.
Yeah, no, that's a good section. The other thing I would say is I think financially, I think you're in a position where we could start building houses. I mean, you could, like, we had a relationship with the city in Big Rapids when there was a vacant lot, if there was a tax foreclosure, they gave it to the housing commissioner, transferred it, and we found ways to build houses. So, we financed them and then sold them on the open market too. So there's things that we could start. I think the other thing I wanted to mention, we need to engage the housing group that the city appointed to and have some of those discussions.
Right.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
it did. So we just need to have a meeting. We need to schedule a meeting.
Mark,
We made sure you're on it, right?
Wait a minute, you're the only person on it that,
No, the city appointed,
From the housing.
I think the mayor's on it, right?
sure,
It was done at, what, the
I haven't
night,
seen any report on that.
we haven't had a, there has not been a meeting.
Seen anything who even was appointed since they decided they were gonna have one.
No, it was appointed the night we gave our annual report. It was on the same
Right.
agenda.
On that agenda. Seemed like the business manager, you, I'm trying to think who else on the.
The utilities, DPW director, I think, the mayor,
Tracy was
Tracy,
on it,
yeah.
Bill Gamble's on
Yeah.
it. I don't think any council members on it.
The mayor's on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
pardon,
mayor,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mark
Mark
and Ed probably.
no, Ed wasn't on it.
We'll get you the list. It was on the agenda that
Is it
night.
anyone that has knowledge of what the goals are and other than yourself?
No, I think it was really the first point of business is to talk about our project,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
project that we want to, that we want to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's your planning person's name?
Oh,
Teresa Rory.
yeah, I think she's on it.
Teresa's
yeah.
on it. I'm having a bit of a problem with Housing North, and that there's spewing a lot of data out there that is erroneous.
Mhm.
They talk about the number of apartments in Manistee, and they're undercounting. And I think we have to be careful with what Housing North says. I think they're using maybe old data, they're not doing a lot of,
We just had a huge new study,
I know, and it's wrong.
but anyway.
Yeah,
Uh,
anyway, so I just wanted to mention that. We need to engage
I went to
that.
Developer Day that Chamber put on, and that was great, and I met a lot of developers and actually had a lot of conversations with what we're thinking here and with some other things that are happening in our community that, you know, everybody doesn't know about yet, but are gonna be happening, and they came from all over. It was a huge turnout for Developer Day. Yeah. So, you know, I think, as we all know, Manistee is on everybody's hit list. I mean, we are ripe for development.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know how many units are there. It's at least 48 being added in Parkdale,
oh,
right?
yeah.
That's gonna help a lot.
That's more than that, I think.
That's-
double.
Well, that's just one phase.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's like a 3-phase project.
Are you talking about the old Kennedy School?
Yeah, yeah.
I heard it was 250.
That's the full phase.
I think that's
okay.
like initially it's like 48 or something like that, I think, but I mean, that's gonna help a lot. I mean, every day, you know, I'm looking for apartments for people and
Yeah, so I think really in order to do something with our existing properties, we have to replace it. Or we have to continue as is, and I don't think that's an option that anybody wants.
But we need to keep moving forward
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
Get that.
But I think there's some other parallel courses that we could do.
And that was, just, again, long conversation. I don't know if, Ginny was on the board yet, but that was many, many years ago. When, you know, I'm targeting those places on 12th Street. Those are, they're bad. But that property, I said, if we move on, you know, if we get rid of or move out of there, you know, we can take that property as a housing commission, do something with it. Or sell it or whatever, which I was told, no, that wasn't possible. But, you know, I just, in my head, I'm thinking, man, land trust.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
I think there's one council member would vote for it to be sold.
Well,
I
at the
think
time.
Yeah.
we could redevelop that into workforce housing up there, use missing middle type funds.
Or we could sell it for a nice price. And
That's
use the
right.
Money somewhere.
You know,
else.
under the new RAD programs, there's some disposition models you can use too. So, I mean, there's a lot of new opportunities. And, you know, this whole RAD program has bipartisan support.
Yeah.
So, you know, no matter what happens anyway, I think it's gonna be there and it's really out of the public housing arena, and I think that's desirable.
Mhm.
Well, and I'm concerned with where the federal government is and what's happening to bond rates and things like that. I wouldn't want to start a multi-million-dollar project, not even knowing what interest is going to do or what gonna be legal or illegal, and
I think we have about, probably over a year's worth of time that we're gonna be,
Studying this.
you know. looking
Yeah,
at
yeah,
it.
it
I mean, it's a.
Our
process.
process is
yeah,
a ways.
I agree, but you know, interest rates are already starting up on home mortgages.
Yeah.
I mean, they're starting to crowd 8%.
See that?
They're up over 7
Yeah, I
now.
heard 7. But anyway, I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any committee reports?
We met, but we didn't really come to any.
No.
Just
And then
Brainstorm.
finance committee met, Steve
Yeah.
actually.
I met, Nick was on vacation, but we met, but over the audit, it was good audit, really good audit.
okay.
Received communications. Email dated 5/18 from Jermaine Sullivan, mayor, on resident issues. Mark, you wanna talk about that?
Well, no, I haven't had a chance really to talk with Gloria about it, but one of the things I know there's some concerns about, you know, and I thought they went away after we designated smoking areas and congregating. Part of me wants to have a conversation with code enforcement or law enforcement to see if there's actually some nuisance stuff that we could actually kind of collectively enforce, and loitering. You know, that's why we did what we did, so we could address that problem. And it is not fair to the property owners to have smoke blowing in their windows all day long. I totally agree.
But it's like we talked about earlier, until our residents start respecting each other in the community, no matter what we do, no matter how many laws, no matter how many fines, no matter how many discussions we have about it, if there isn't mutual respect, it's never gonna happen.
So this is a question for Liz and Jim too. I don't know what our ordinance say in town, if we have loitering, or could we put some signage up, or could we create an ordinance, you know, prohibiting, I don't know. I mean, I think that's,
I would be against that, Mark,
okay,
you know, and the main reason was this place was run like a gulag. And it was like a prisoner of war camp here. And, you know, to hear like Dave saying fire hose down the hall. I want this to be the best place in the world for our residents. And I want them to respect that, and I want to respect them for it. And I don't want to have 100 signs, no trespassing, you can't do this, you can't do that. People should know. And it's just respecting each other and respecting the property. And if we don't get that, it doesn't matter how many signs we put up. And Lori, bless her heart, has done a great job of getting rid of a lot of the people that, no matter what you do, they're never gonna respect anything. But until we get to that working type relationship with our residents, I don't want to harass them. I don't want to have police walk in a hall like they used to. I don't want to have lockdowns. I mean, that used to happen here.
Well, it hasn't happened since we've all been, so.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Okay, so, but we do have to stress to our residents, and it's an education process. I don't think it hurts to continually remind people of human decency and that what you're doing can affect others. And it can be simple, nice signage in the hallways. It can be nice signage around the building saying, remember, treat others like you want to be treated. You know, no smoking, people could have allergies. I mean, we can use some kind of, what do you call it, in the mental health business? Subliminal messaging, right?
We need more Connies.
I agree with, you know, we can push all that out, and I think that can be important. I look at our society as it is today, and we are all about me and my opinion, and I don't have to listen. That is our society these days, unfortunately. It wasn't that way, but it is. So I think people aren't gonna learn until they are ticketed or whatever. Because I can go out there and ask them several times. Last time I was here was a couple of months ago, they're on the corner, I'm like, are you supposed to be smoking? You know, and you get the nasty comments back. You know, I just don't think people are gonna respond to always just please, could you please, thank you. I'm happy to do that, but at the same time, I think we have probably people who are violating those rules don't really care how we feel about it. And so there are people who are gonna have to learn that what they are doing is wrong and you're gonna pay the price for it. Two cents.
But I don't know that the city has an ordinance that.
no, I think we
Smoke a
need to,
cigarette on
we
the
need to
way.
have some
Rules here.
conversations about
Yes.
that and
Yeah.
see what,
Work with them.
yeah, exactly.
I'd like to say something, okay? Like, cops come to our meetings, right? And it's been brought up about the marijuana and stuff. They said as long as we can smoke it on the property, they can't do nothing about it because it's our backyard.
Private, so they're looking at
saying-
private property.
Yeah,
But it's not private property.
Well, it's public housing, which
And
we
it
can
is our
talk
backyard
with,
and we do rent.
yeah, but we can talk with the chief about there are rules
We have
within our.
But you
federal-
know, there's rules, but like you said, it's.
no, that's up to us to enforce the
Yeah,
rules
it's
on
not
the
enforceable
property.
by the
Yeah,
police,
I mean-
but it is enforceable.
They
by-
wouldn't be ticketed, but they would get a warning and eventually get
Yeah,
convicted
that's,
because of it.
yeah, that's our decision. Now, if there was criminal issues, then the police would have standing, but, you know, to enforce.
Just letting you know what they say about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And they're right.
Yeah.
So they can go out there, they're saying
They're
legally,
saying you can smoke anywhere on this property marijuana It's because it's our backyard, we rent this place.
That's
Yeah,
not
that's
true.
not federal.
I don't think that's true.
No, that's
No.
not correct, because this is, because this is a private entity, it has its own set of rules that are enforceable by your lease, basically. That says that you're not allowed to smoke marijuana.
But it's not a police.
No, it's not police, but it is still enforceable.
Property is not federal.
Well, it's private property. We have to enforce our own rules. The police can't issue a ticket for anyone smoking marijuana, but we can issue a warning and eventually evict if they don't pay.
I think what they were making is the difference between the tribe, because that is federal land,
Right.
and federal does not allow the smoking marijuana, so you could actually get a ticket from the tribal police on federal property.
And two little counties, and you hang up, but ain't gonna do no good, 'cause people take them down anyway.
Well, I think it's
I'm
a
glad
conversation to
Yeah.
have and
I
see.
need to, because I've hung up signs and signs over the washers, and they take them down anyway. They don't care.
That's what I said. It's just kind of a societal mentality. I think you don't have to tell me, I don't have to listen.
I don't think it takes much enforcement to, to get the message and say that this is.
Thank you.
It may be, Steve, and I don't suggest we're ticketing people, but just the mere presence and, knowing that you can't do it or you can't stand here, we have the place already established. I mean,
It's not all of our residents.
No,
It's a minority that's
that's right.
making it very difficult for the majority. I always say it's the majority that is silent, because they don't want to confront these.
And luckily, some of that minority has already moved away.
Yes, and we'll just keep on it.
But the whole issue with smoking doesn't necessarily just stop with marijuana.
No, it's a whole issue.
And at large.
And we're not at liberty, we're addressing lots of the problems. We're not at liberty to talk about it, publicly too, so.
Okay, now, Liz's resident, Liz Lasky's email. I think that was Dave Milky, right? I know Dave Milky addressed some of that earlier.
Yeah, and I think, Mr. Melton and, Ms. Lasky is noting too, there's a big safety issue here, so. Again, on our vision and our future, how can we enhance things? I'm thinking putting up those spotlights that are solar, just put those up for any kind of motion, we can put them out in the parking lot, those don't cost a lot. There are other things we can do. So we can afford, we can stay security cameras everywhere.
I know that I put LED, parking lot lights at Lakeview, Chalet West, Valley View and that, and through a federal program, and we had to pay very little, if any of that.
So I think those are things that we have to put on our radar.
We still have to have them so that it respects the neighbors, that we're not shining extra light on
Exactly.
the neighbors.
Exactly.
But we might be able to put something on our building that would shine down at the proper angle, because they have those shields on the
Yeah, that's
LED
true.
lights.
Yeah.
So we might be able to put something on the building as well, and that would be somewhat low cost, you don't have to worry about a pole and. all
Right,
of those
yeah,
things.
that's a good idea.
It can be motion censored, so anybody's messing
Around
around.
with it, yeah.
I was gonna buy something.
Oh, yeah.
Was there anything else in Liz Lasky?
No, all good
Email.
stuff that we
Mostly.
talked about,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
police patrolling the buildings more. I guess we can ask if they want to. I don't know if they will. But down the road, what about a security? Something to,
in the evening or something.
yeah, just a patrol,
Yeah, so
a few hours a night.
we came up with this, community policing officer position in Big Rapids, and the Housing Commission funds part of it, so we get part of their time. So, I mean, and it helps the police department to fund some of their operational costs, so, and we can if anybody's interested, we could have those conversations.
Maybe
too.
Dave Shands, now that he's retired, would want to pick up a little extra time. Cause he was a nice guy
Yeah.
and, you know. he'd be-
A presence would make a huge difference.
Yes, I
So,
agree.
Just,
Let's put that on our agenda to look into.
okay.
Okay, and third and last is the email from Michael Sellers.
You can see that they bless the lock project. So that'll help with security too. So, so everybody will be getting a deadbolt passageway
Oh, that.
through their unit. So,
And then we move on to vacancy report. We're still good. There's still some out there, but they're in a position between.
What happened to the Vine Street?
Yeah.
Those people just move out?
yeah, there were some issues that we need to do some repairs on. But back to the vacancy report. So there's a thorough, just so everybody knows, there's a thorough screening process that everybody goes through.
Yeah.
That may not have been practiced
Yes.
before, but it is thorough today. And everybody's treated equally, they go through the same vetting system. Now, will somebody move in that has issues? Probably. I mean, if you had 200 units in the city of Manistee, you're gonna have a problem with a couple of them. There's gonna be a tenant issue. So I don't think we're any different, but going forward, we're still dealing with some evictions and some termination of tenancies from folks that have been here, and it's been, some have been long and lengthy. 12th Street was a good example, but we went through the process. Sometimes it's not quick, and we have to, the court proceedings slow things down sometimes too. So there's a whole bunch of reasons, but if there's a problem and we know about it, we address it. Now, do we always address it satisfactorily to everybody? Probably not, but we do the best with what we have. But I can assure you the screening process is thorough.
Now,
Now,
yes.
yeah, and going
And
back
enforcement is out.
and enforcement, yeah. And going back, I don't think that was always the case. So,
Okay, anything else? Okay, next on the agenda is the newsletter. It amazes me how our staff gets this out every month. Guys look so good.
You get that email to the, how does that go to the scatter? How does it get to everybody?
I think it gets delivered.
And delivered?
So
Newsletter?
does it get,
They don't deliver it to me all the time, but yeah, I get it once in a while.
Like in your mailbox or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it mine blows away or they forget me or I don't get one every month.
I'm pretty sure they're hand delivered, but we can double check.
Is that like maintenance hand delivered?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I saw L one day when my door, I heard something.
Okay.
Or
So now you saw in Lori's report that the website is getting more active. All that stuff's gonna go on the website too.
What website?
Yeah.
She keeps telling us she's making a website. I've got to see it.
So we found Facebook's been a fairly good utilization to get information out to residents. So once they know about it, it works. I'm not a Facebook user, but I know a lot of people are, so it's a good way to.
This just blows my mind, this whole website thing.
That was started
How many years
a
ago?
long time ago.
All that money that was paid.
Yeah.
For the previous administration with no website.
And truthfully, I think we could probably do the same thing on Facebook, except for.
No, but we'll have
No.
Spells out.
No, but the
we'll have applications and a way.
Payment.
It'll actually be, once it's up, a useful tool to call in work orders
It'll
and,
be great.
Yeah.
Once it's going.
but that's just one of those things that's been on the list to do and on the priority list.
Okay, on the resident council meeting minutes, there was no meeting in April. Lack of a quorum. I sure hope that they're not falling apart. Cause I think they've got some good people there. And it's that time, we can open up to public comments. Anybody in the audience got any comments?
Yeah, I just thought about, you said you put the notice in the mailbox. You better ask the post office, cause they get excited.
I thought the same thing. I'd say,
They put it in the door.
Yeah, I don't think we put it in the mailbox.
Oh, in the door.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let you know, cause I know they jumped all over some
Yeah.
groups that would do that.
Yeah.
any other public comments?
I'm Patrick McDuff and I live in Harborview, and I just wanted to say that, I think there's been big improvement in the parking since it's been enforced.
Good, good, good.
And it's just opened that end of the world up, so I hope to keep going with that. I
Yeah.
do
Well-
agree, I think enforcement's a huge part of every problem,
Yeah.
all the way up to the highest levels.
Yes.
You know, they were talking about mud. Is it possible that we could get a load of pea gravel? And maybe grade it out if it's muddy? Yeah.
When it's dry, it's fairly.
Yeah, I don't think,
Because he was talking about all of, that was, I don't know, it was just,
I think
just
that's
came
the
to me because he
gravel
was
ball,
talking about it
Yeah.
being muddy.
you know, and honestly, we haven't designated it as parking because we can't maintain it. We don't plow it in the wintertime because we can't keep it ice free, so we don't want that liability with it.
You just gotta build that building.
Yeah, or
Mhm.
pave the lot, which
Pave
was
the lot.
supposed to have been done.
Well, even if we're gonna build a building, we probably pave the lot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What you got.
So pre-pave the lot and spray on the building.
You know, and those were all in the scope of work
Yeah,
that
I
didn't,
know.
that didn't.
It's,
Now, one of the things that they did mention though, is if the city, and I know that somebody else has taken advantage of this, is you could work with the city, if they do have somebody paving a road.
Yes,
You can piggyback on the contract and get the same per yard rate for the asphalt. Which is significant when you're talking about, a mile or two of road. And I know that we've done that in the past when I was on council, so.
Our biggest problem here, Beck, is that we have a partner in CTHB that does not or will not allow us to spend a penny.
Yeah.
Until their
of the project's
developer
money,
fee
yeah.
is paid for.
So I get it, but
So
Is
can I?
this road, is Sixth Avenue on the repair list?
Yes,
Is it?
Yeah, it was,
So that might be the opportunity
Yeah. it was
when they
in
come
the,
from here.
I think it was just in either mill and fill or an overlay at the presentation.
That's what it is,
Yeah.
yes.
So that might be an opportunity, Tom.
So there were ducks swimming in the street the last time I was here. There was so much- I swear I took a picture. These two mallards came
I've
up
got
from
that
the
picture
river
on my phone.
and they were swimming down the street.
No, I keep asking my pool about
Fish.
No fish.
No fish, no fish.
So Patrick, can I just ask a question? I mean, I've been here in the dark, so I don't think there's a lighting issue in the paved parking lot per se. What's your analysis?
I really don't get out that much at night, so I
Okay.
couldn't say, but I would say that, would be a concern of mine.
Yeah.
You know,
I just wondered because I haven't paid a lot of attention, but I never thought there was not enough lighting in the parking areas. So,
Unless we've lost a light.
yeah, I know that could be true too.
But that, like Mick said, we can mount those even up and then get those kind of, lights that go with motion to
Yeah.
augment the current lighting that's in there.
speaking of lights, I know they redid the, landscaping at Harborview on the Riverside, or they added. I'm fortunate enough and grateful, very grateful to be on that side. But those lights, in terms of natural aspect, it's not a good idea to shine lights up.
Oh, yeah.
And I leave my shades open all night long. It's just beautiful at night. I have my lights off in the house and reflection, there's plenty of light across the river.
Mhm.
And it dances across the ceilings. But now it's just that old
Much.
white light.
I think those are adjustable.
Solar, yeah, I
That's what
think we
was
can
thinking,
adjust.
Focus them on the wall through retaining
Yeah.
walls or something, and
That's what
just
they
let it bounce back in the landscape.
did, what's his name do that for us?
Thompson Landscaping.
Yeah, well,
just have.
let's call Jason and tell him, come on back.
Or I was thinking you could use those around the parking lot.
Yeah.
People take them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
They're
excited.
just staked in. That's why I would attach it to like a building or a pole, because being staked, people these days, they take flowers from the cemetery. See some free lights sitting there, they're gonna grab them.
And they even have those plastic shields that go
Yes.
over those state lights
Yeah,
to stop
that
the
too.
brights.
Yeah,
Right.
they're just solar
Yeah.
lights, you know, they're just ground. So like, I'm anxious to see how the landscaping grows since it was put in late last fall and see how it develops.
Just let's not let it.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna let it go.
Thank you.
Okay, announcements and upcoming meetings. Our next commission meeting is on the 19th of June. It is also our annual meeting. We'll elect new officers at Harborview.
Yep.
9 AM. And with that,
We need a motion to go into closed session.
I make a motion, we go into closed session.
With Mark,
Oh, with Mark and the board member.
yeah, and we'll have to turn off the
Yep.
recording.
Did you second,
Thanks for coming.
did you second that, Karen?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. McDuff, for coming.
either one you want to see this, I can want a copy.
And then return it to the office? I'd love to see it. Thank you. I'll just return it to Lord.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Susan.
Thank
Thank you.
See you, Liz.
You want one?
Yeah.
Okay, just, yeah. I make a motion that we come out of closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What time?
Motion carried. Meeting is closed.
10:24. Let me cancel this real quick.
Trying to keep Liz on our side. That's why I offered to give her the honor.
No, I